How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store is wrapping up its Big Games Big Deal sale, and we are going to be looking at deals for those of you that have some money to spend. Yes, we did games under the price of $20, but how about games over $20, going as high as, I think the most expensive game on this list might be even close to $50. So with that being said, I mean, get those wallets ready, boys, because you'll be spending some money on these games. No, but seriously, some good offers, but as I always say with games at this price point, do have it in mind that you should play these games as soon as possible, because while these games might be discounted, they have the room to get discounted even further. So let's get right into it, and let's start off with, I think, the most expensive game on this list. Mana PS4 ReFantazio is 30% off for $49. This was, looking back at it, my 2024 game of the year. I was really going back between Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and Mana PS4, and FF7 Rebirth was certainly in the mix as well. I know, I am a weeb, and I love me my Japanese games, but Mana PS4 to me was just such a well-done game. The soundtrack was exceptional. The combat system, as much as people love Expedition 33 and what it did for the turn-based combat system, I feel like Mana PS4 did a lot of good things within the turn-based combat system as well. It didn't have the QTE gimmick going on for it, but I think as far as the depth with all of the archetypes, it was done very, very well. Soundtrack, like I said, is exceptional, and narratively, loved it. Loved it from a narrative standpoint. Even if some of the plot twists you could see coming from a mile away, I much prefer plot twists that make sense within the context of the story, the overall story being told, than things that just came out of left field in a lot of regards. In Mana PS4, I feel like everything just came together and made sense by the end, and overall a very rewarding story to go through by the end. Loved it. $49, yes, it's expensive, but you're talking about an 80-hour game here, so very much well worth it. Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection is 50% off for $29.99. This is on sale on Amazon for a physical copy for $19.99, so go that route if you do want it a little bit cheaper, and you want a physical copy. You know, we gotta pay that digital tax, if you know what I mean, if you're buying your games digitally. Battle Network, these games are great. Obviously, I grew up playing these games, so there's gonna be a little bit of nostalgic affinity and that bias towards the games for me. I can assess the fact that Battle Network 1 is an atrocity as far as its aging is concerned. It's still a decent playthrough, but you should probably have a guide next to you while playing it. They really got cooking with Battle Network 2 and Battle Network 3. I feel like those two games were great. Battle Network 4 seems to be a little bit more mixed received. Battle Network 5 and 6 were really good as well. So a lot of good stuff here, and with Battle Network 3 onwards, they do the Pokemon gimmick where they have two different versions, and you get all of the versions and everything like that with the Legacy Collection. So great stuff there for $29.99. Final Fantasy 16, 35% off for $32.49. Man, I feel like Final Fantasy 16 has been so much in the dialogue recently and the gaming discourse because of Expedition 33 and people wanting Final Fantasy to go back into a turn-based formula. I will say this, I loved Final Fantasy 16. I thought it was a great game, and yes, it is very much in an action-heavy, it's an action-heavy game. Some will consider it to be dumbed down. Whatever you want to say about it, as far as just assessing it as a video game from a visual standpoint, it's great. Narratively, I thought it was strong. I thought the voice acting was great. The soundtrack is exceptional, and legitimately, some of the greatest boss fights in a video game, probably the greatest boss fights in a video game that I've ever experienced in terms of epicness and scale. I ended up really enjoying the game. I totally get why people have their reservations towards it and don't enjoy it as much, but I thought it was a great title, and for $32.49, I would definitely recommend it. So check that out. Unfortunately, this is the base game and not the complete edition, so definitely would give that a recommendation. Next up, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot Legendary Edition, 75% off for $29.99. This gets you the game, the base game Kakarot, as well as Season Pass 1 and 2. There is more content coming for this game. The Dragon Ball Daima DLC will be dropping, I think, by the end of this year, or maybe the first part comes out in the summer, but it'll be a two-part DLC, and that is not included in the Legendary Edition. So I very well could see them doing a super duper complete edition, release that as a physical copy and maybe on the Switch too. I could totally see that happening. But yeah, DBZ Kakarot is great, and the DLC is quite good as well. Season Pass 1 has the alternate timeline Trunks episode, you know, Trunks against the androids. in his timeline. There's some DB Super content in there as well. And then Season Pass 2 has a bit of DLC to wrap up the Z storyline, the 23rd World Tournament from Dragon Ball, the OG Dragon Ball, and then the Bardock episode, which the Bardock episode was kind of disappointing because I like the whole Bardock story. I just feel like they didn't execute that as great as possible with the DLC, but still overall, great title. If you're a Dragon Ball fan, you'll really enjoy it. The Daima DLC is going to be pretty cool as well. That is $35 though, so keep that in mind, but there you go with that. Palworld, $22.49, 25% off. Always going to be a really good pickup, especially at this price point, and given the fact that ultimately Palworld's price point is going to go up, so what you get out of Palworld right now, easily worth $30. I would argue it's worth $40 with all the content that came after the Daybreak update, and you're going to get future updates for this game, and you're talking about spending $22.49 versus this game potentially could be $40 or $50 by the time it sees its 1.0 release, so great time to pick up Palworld if you have yet to. You know, hopefully they get through the Nintendo lawsuit as easily as possible. You know, it is what it is. Nintendo gonna be Nintendo as far as that one's concerned, but yeah, Palworld is great. $22.49, good pickup there. Alan Wake 2, 50% off for $29.99. This is a new low price for Alan Wake 2 in this sale. I liked Alan Wake 2. I did not vibe with it as much as a lot of other people. I will say, I remember playing Alan Wake 2 launch day and just being blown away by this game from a visual standpoint, atmosphere standpoint, and the end of Chapter 1, that song that they play, I was like, oh my god, this game is it. Then after that, I kind of fell off of it. It didn't engross me as much. I want to give it another playthrough, especially, you know, it is PS5 Pro enhanced, and it's one of the better showcases of the PS5 Pro, but yeah, $29.99 on that. I think that's a great pickup. Look, it was nominated for Game of the Year in 23. A lot of people considered it to be Game of the Year of that year, so check it out for yourself. You'll probably have a pretty good time with it. I would recommend you to play Alan Wake 1 first. NieR Replicant, 60% off for $24. I really like NieR Replicant. Not as good as Automata, but this is a remake of the 2010 NieR game, which didn't get as much traction as Automata, but Replicant turned out to be a solid game as well. Soundtrack is still as exceptional on a lot of those tracks. Man, I actually need to download some of the NieR Replicant music onto my phone as I'm recording this video. That thought just came into my head, but NieR Replicant music is always great. The NieR music in general, narratively quite good. Gameplay is solid. It's not as good as Automata, but it's still fairly solid, and I would say for 24 bucks, a pretty good pickup here. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, 58% off for $29.39. I feel like the majority of you guys at this point own this game, but if you don't, definitely do add it to your library. I really enjoyed it. The issue was $70 for a game that you could get the Platinum Trophy in like 14 hours. Look, I've been very vocal about the thought that you cannot use gameplay hours as a quantifiable metric, as the be-all end-all, I should say, as that metric, but it's gonna push some people away. A $70 game with 14 hours of content is certainly gonna push some people away, but Rift Apart, I really enjoyed. Ratchet's another one of those franchises that I grew up with, so it's gonna be one that I have a little bit of bias towards. Unfortunately, we don't see Ratchet games released as regularly as we once did, but, you know, what can we do? Insomniac's, you know, they're doing good with their Marvel titles, but it would be nice to see Ratchet more consistently. It is what it is, as far as that's concerned. Visions of Mana, 35% off for $39. Fairly underrated JRPG. If you're going into this game, just expect something at a lower scale, at a lower budget, because that is the reality with Visions of Mana. It's a game that isn't going to be at the caliber of, let's say, a top-level Square Enix JRPG, or even a secondary Square Enix JRPG, I would say, from the standpoint of it doesn't have the greatest visuals in the world and so on and so forth, but has a decent story, gameplay is really solid, a charming world, and it's just a pleasant game to go through, you know? I just feel like Visions of Mana is a good vibes game to go through for a large portion of it, and $39 is pricey for sure. I would say wait for it to be cheaper, like $30, $25, around that range would be ideal, but if you've been eyeing it for a while, not a bad pickup given that it just came out, what, 8 months ago or so? Still fairly recent. Star Ocean: The Second Story are 40% off for $29.99. Love this game. It came out initially at $49.99, which was a little bit too hefty for an HD 2D version of a PSP game, but Second Story R I thought was great. I'm not a big Star Ocean guy when it comes to a lot of their narrative aspects with Star Ocean 2, But I thought the characters were fairly likable in this one. Soundtrack was great, combat was fun, and not a super lengthy game, but lengthy enough and more of a digestible JRPG that's more so in my wheelhouse these days. $29.99, good deal on that. Next up, a game that I constantly go to bat for, Fate Samurai Remnant, 50% off for $29.99. What I say about this game is that this game seemingly was designed just for me and my gaming taste and my taste in entertainment. You're talking about anime aesthetics, Musou gameplay, Edo Japan. It's totally a game up my alley. A fantastic soundtrack as well. Like, all of the elements in this game resonate with me greatly. And if you're up that alley, I would say this is going to be a game you'll really enjoy. $29.99 is pricey, but these Tecmo Koei games generally hold up in price for quite a while. This one came out like 18 months ago at this point. I doubt it's going to get much cheaper, so I would just say if you have any interest in it, pick it up. I'm not a big Fate guy either, so I enjoyed it on the standpoint of, yeah, Fate has some cool aesthetics, like the characters are pretty cool, but as a Musou game in its own isolated story, I enjoyed it greatly, and I would say for $29.99, great pickup there. Definitely would recommend that. Next up, we have Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seventh, $35, 30% off. To be frank, I did not get into this game as much as a lot of other people. However, it's one that I definitely do want to go back and give another shot to. I wasn't crazy about the generations aspect of the game to it. Again, it just didn't click with me, but you look at the reception that a lot of other people have towards this game, I thought it would be worth a mention. It's one of those lesser-known Square Enix releases, and those games generally do hold up in price. Like, I was looking through this sale, and Dio Field Chronicle is still $24. By God, how is Dio Field Chronicle still $24? And I like Dio Field Chronicle more than most people, but my goodness, how is that game still $24? It's insane, but yeah, Romancing Saga 2, $35 on that. You got Star Wars Jedi Crossgen Bundle, 65% off for $28. It's Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order. Great games, highly recommend them. Jedi Fallen Order is really good, and Jedi Survivor, I thought, built upon it. Better story, definitely a better map design. Overall, had a great time with both of those games, and I certainly will be replaying them before the third game comes out. Resident Evil 4 Gold Edition, 40% off for $29.99. You know, Resident Evil 4, I always say the same thing. You're taking one of the greatest video games of all time, you're remaking it from the ground up, and an incredibly talented team worked on it. You got one of the greatest video games of all time again, and the Gold Edition has the Separate Ways DLC. It's great stuff. Definitely give this a look if you have yet to. And yes, RE4 is a fairly short game in the sense that, you know, if you take your time with it, you could probably get 18 to 20 hours out of it. But Resident Evil is one of those franchises that I find myself going back and playing a lot of the good ones over and over again. Like RE4, this is going to be a game that every year or every other year I'll do another playthrough of. So if you want to quantify it by how many game hours I'm going to get out of it, it's going to end up being a lot. So yeah, $29.99 on that. Great pickup there. Granblue Fantasy Relink, 55% off for $27. One of the forgotten games of 2024, and, you know, one of those JRPGs that isn't talked about as much anymore, especially 2024 was an insane year for JRPGs, but Granblue Fantasy Relink kind of got lost in the shuffle. It came out around the same time as Persona 3 Reload and FF7 Rebirth and Infinite Wealth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, but it did good when it initially came out, just forgotten about a little bit. Enjoyed it, thought the gameplay was great. Story's a little bit disjointed, especially if you're not a Granblue guy, which I was not, so it felt a little bit off to me, but overall, pretty good game, and 27 bucks, a great deal on that. And lastly, Sonic Frontiers, the Digital Deluxe Edition is $21. Now, the Digital Deluxe Edition doesn't have anything really to write home about, but you do get the mini digital soundtrack and art book and the Explorer's Treasure Box. Nothing insane there, but Sonic Frontiers itself, I think, is a really great game. Hoping we get a sequel of it. Fall of next year, I think, makes all the sense in the world to lead into Sonic Movie 4. I just think that's the best way to set it up. This year, you got Sonic Racing, Crossworlds. Next year, hopefully, fingers crossed, Frontiers 2. That makes a ton of sense to me, but we'll see. Maybe it'll end up being, what would it be, 2027? I don't know, but hoping for next year, Frontiers 2. I thought they laid a great foundation in this game. I thought you saw some of the developments and the evolution of what it could be in Sonic X Shadow Generations, and hopefully with Frontiers 2, they really land on something great. But that'll do it for me. Again, a lot of great deals available right now. These for the ballers out there for sure, but links to everything in the description box below. That'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.